If butterflies can't manage their position and their alignment in the water, all the propulsion in the world isn't going to help them swim fast. Hi everyone, Andrew here, helping you help your swimmers get faster. In this video, we're going to explore the skill of horizontal alignment in butterfly and how achieving horizontal alignment is critical for reducing the amount of resistance swimmers create, and thus it directly relates to how much speed they can create. So as much as possible, swimmers want to move through the water as straight as they can in butterfly. However, they can't necessarily do so because they have to recover both arms over the water at the same time. In order to do that, they're going to have to lift their chest, which is going to sink their hips. So the key to maintaining great horizontal alignment, so the key to reducing the amount of resistance swimmers create as they move through the water, is to find a way to minimize the loss of horizontal alignment when they lift the head and the chest to recover the arms and to breathe. And then after the arm recovery and then after the breath, getting everything back into line as effectively and as quickly as possible to reestablish great alignment. So swimmers have to minimize the disruption of alignment when they recover the arms and breathe. They need to get back in alignment after they recover the arms and breathe. And finally, they need to minimize the time that they're out of alignment. And the better they can do all three of those skills, the less resistance they'll create and the faster they'll swim. So let's dive in and check out what it looks like. So if we watch this swimmer here, we're going to start from the beginning of her stroke. And as you can see, she's relatively aligned and that the hips are up at the surface. The chest is pressed down a little bit and she's relatively level. So as she starts this stroke cycle, she's going to start to move out of alignment in order to prepare for recovery of the arms. So she's going to come up, lift the chest, lift the shoulders. She's going to breathe on this stroke. And this is going to create a position where her arms are free to recover over the surface. But in order to do that, her body's going to have to be at a little bit of an incline, and you can see that position here. And then as she recovers the arms, she's going to stay in that position, and then once the arms come back in, she's going to quickly get out of that position. So you can see she went from this inclined position to a pretty horizontal position pretty quickly. So that's the key skill of getting out of it, which is really important for swimmers to do after each and every stroke cycle. And so how she's going to do that, it's going to be three key things. One, the chest is going to be coming down out of the water, and that's going to create a little bit of a sinking moment so that the chest begins to drop down in the water. Secondly, you can watch the hands here. They're going to hit at about the same time. They're going to have momentum. They can drive the body down a little bit flatter as well. And then the third piece, if we watch the legs here, she's going to kick as everything enters, and you can watch the hips here pop right up to the surface at the end of the kick. So the kick pops down right there is when it finishes, up the hips go to the surface. So by entering relatively forward and aggressively, by letting the weight of the chest drop the chest into the water, and then by kicking aggressively, that can get everything back up into alignment, and it can get everything back into alignment really quickly. So we talked about a little bit earlier, it's not just the positions, it's about getting out of those positions really fast, which is important. So if we go back, you can see here, the alignment's not great, not because she's necessarily making technical errors, but because that's the reality of taking a breath and lifting the arms out of the water. That's the position swimmers are going to be in. And then she's going to get out of that, though, really, really quickly. And that's going to be really effective for minimizing the amount of resistance that she creates. So when it comes to lifting the chest and head out of the water, swimmers want to do as much as necessary, but as little as possible. So they need to get a clean breath. They need to get clean arm recoveries. And the more they can do that without lifting excessively, the least resistance they're going to be able to create without compromising the breath, without compromising the arm recovery. And so through this position, she's trying to maintain as much horizontal alignment as she can, even though she's going to necessarily have to disrupt it to get the arms over the water. So the better she can be, the better any athlete can be during this position and not lifting straight up, but lifting enough, that's going to be really important for minimizing the amount of resistance they create. And then regardless, they need to get out of that position as quickly as they can and as fast as they can and as significantly as they can. The better they can do with that, the least resistance they're going to create, and that ultimately means more speed. So the previous swimmer was swimming a 200-meter race. This swimmer is swimming a 50-meter race, and so there's going to be a little bit less total undulation. The stroke rate's going to be a little bit faster, but we're going to see the principles are the same. When she's set up in the front of the stroke, she's level in the water. And then she's going to lift up. It's not as high because she's not breathing, but she still has to lift up. And you can see the body's going to be at an inclined position right there especially. And then as she comes over the top, the hands enter, the chest presses, and the hips come up. And if we watch the kick, boom, the hips come up to the surface as a result of the kick. So when that entry happens, the chest press happens, and the kick happens all at the same time. Swimmers can go from this position right into that position and do so really quickly. And that's the key timing point that they need to consider, is getting everything to happen at the same time right there to pop back into alignment quickly and easily, not taking a lot of energy and not taking a lot of time. So they get into really great positions without wasting energy. So again, with the loss of alignment, she's going to be doing a really good job of staying low here. But even then, there's going to be an incline of the body. It's trying to minimize it as much as possible, and then getting out of that position as quickly as possible by recovering the arms and then popping the hips up to the surface, tying everything together. So while it's not necessarily easy to do, horizontal alignment in butterfly is all about minimizing how much resistance is created when swimmers take the breath and when they recover their arms. And then after that, they need to minimize the impact of those movements by getting out of them and getting out of them fast. So if we watch here, swimmer's not in a great position because of the arm recoveries, but really quickly they get back into position. And this is, again, at a 50-meter race, so the stroke rates are high. She's swimming really fast, but regardless of that, she's able to get back into a horizontally aligned position each and every stroke, and that's going to be able to create a lot more speed. Whereas if she just started kind of going through the water like that, she's going to be creating more and more resistance, and that's really going to slow her down, and it's going to create a ton of fatigue as well. So again, horizontal alignment in butterfly, pretty simple. Minimize the rise of the chest, the shoulders, and the head so that swimmers are able to smoothly and easily recover the arms and get a good breath, but no more. And then after that, they need to get out of those positions fast, and they need to get out of those positions significantly enough so that they get back into alignment like we see this swimmer here. And that's true whether they're swimming 50s, 100s, or 200s. They've got to get back to that aligned position with each stroke cycle so that they can minimize the amount of resistance they create while maximizing the amount of speed they create. Hope that was helpful, and as always, keep it simple.